I got a strange going on out here. Something just killed my dog.
Something killed your dog?
Hey everybody, welcome to the show tonight. I'm your host as always, Dano. You guys, I got a pretty cool guest on tonight. His name is Jake and he's from Michigan. And I'll tell you right now, you hear Bigfoot encounters, Dogman encounters up in Bigfoot up in there in Michigan. So whenever I can get somebody who's from Michigan that comes on and tells their story, it's always a treat for me. I spent a lot of time in Michigan. Haven't seen anything yet, and I'm always looking. I always got my eyes wide open. But before we get into Jake's story of his possible, what he believes to be a Bigfoot encounter, I just want to say thank you so much for all of the support that you guys show the channel. If you've had a story or an encounter that you'd like to come on the show and tell, please email me at thecryptidpodcast72@gmail.com, thecryptidpodcast72@gmail.com. And just let you guys know that if you'd like to, I do have a membership. It's $2.99 a month. With that, you get a early access to a Saturday show, which I do once a month. And all new members will be getting something in the mail. But I got to determine what that's going to be. So, and I don't mean just because you join, I'm going to send one. It's just I'm going to run another giveaway, and then everybody's name will be put into the pot, so to speak, to have their names drawn and potentially win whatever giveaway I'm doing at that time. Again, I just want to say thank you so much. And you guys, are you ready to hear this story? Because I know I am. Without further ado, let's bring Jake on the show. Jake, how's it going? It's going good, man. Thanks for coming. Thanks for reaching out to me, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for responding and inviting me on to be on here tonight. I'm excited about it.
Yeah. So how old were you when you had what you believe to be a Bigfoot? And why do you think it was a Bigfoot encounter?
So I was 15 at the time. And like you mentioned, I'm from Michigan, born and raised here. So I've spent my entire life here. I'm 30 now. The reason I believe that it was Bigfoot and lean towards that way is even getting older, the more I think about it, I don't know what else it could have been unless it was a person in a costume. And just given the time of the year that we were up there, the time of the day that it happened, the oddity of it all that kind of stemmed from it, and just I don't see why it would have been a person trying to hoax somebody that could have been in my shoes. I mean, I was the only person there at the time. So.
Okay. So you know what? You also let me know before we came on that you are working on a film.
Yes.
And what is the subject matter of your film?
So I'll phrase it that it is definitely in mind, it's going to be a classic creature feature type of film. Again, I tend to lean heavy into some of the encounters I've had on the Bigfoot field of it. But I am going to involve the Legend of Dogman as well.
Okay, cool. All right. So you know what? Let's just go ahead and get right into your Bigfoot encounter.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I was about 15 years old. This happened in July. That would have been 2010 at the time. Northern Michigan. Where this is, for those who are not familiar, it's in the Lower Peninsula, the much northern region. In a county called Montmorency, just south of Sheboygan County, which is just next to the Mackinac Bridge, Mackinac City. So it is quite far up north, as we like to say. And basically what was happening was my grandparents lived there at the time, kind of in this very small rural subdivision, so to speak, if you want to call it that. It was a bunch of manufactured homes, essentially a group of 10, 15, possibly 20 in this area of the state forest land. And they had an access to a lake that was not very far, maybe about a mile from their house. And that was always one of the points that I like to walk. My sister liked to walk, cousins, things like that, whoever was up there, especially as kids trying to kill time. So I just went out walking, and I went down to the boat launch like I've done so many other times. And everything was normal until I started heading back. And I was probably 100 to 150 yards from the house when I started hearing this noise off to the side of me. To paint the picture, it's a dirt road that comes up to a T, turn left, and basically you can see their house once you do that. But dirt road with woods on both sides. And it was more sort of like cedar swamp area where I heard this noise coming from. Not too heavy when it started. I assumed it was a deer. So I would look occasionally while I'm walking, and I wouldn't see anything. And this goes on for about a minute or two. And finally, I see this figure, and it's down on all fours. And the first thing into my mind, and I don't even know if I've audibly said it, but the first thing that I thought was, it's a bear. Not good. I don't have a weapon of any kind. I didn't even bring a walking stick that we sometimes take with us. I just didn't expect to see one. I didn't prepare for that. But again, it's an area that's pretty heavily populated by black bear, so you see them up there. You see them pretty regularly. So I thought it was a bear. I kept my eyes on it. I keep walking. I'm a little panicked at that point because it is just myself. But this thing's not really doing much but standing on all fours. So once that worry starts to go down and I get closer to that T-cross intersection, the thing stands up. And when it stood up, stands on its hind legs. And again, I'm like, well, it's trying to sniff me out. It's got to be a bear. So I freeze. Don't know why. Just freeze and I stare at it. And the more that I'm looking at it, there are no drooping or anything. It's kind of like I'm sitting now. It's definitive shoulders. Obviously a way bigger head, almost no neck, but goes into these huge shoulders. And it drops straight down just like a human would be standing in the forest. I'm trying to make all of this out. This is probably, if I had to say, 35, 40 yards from me into the wood line. Not super late at night. I could see into the forest, but it is that point where the forest is starting to get dark. The sun is it's on its trend to set. So shadows are starting to overtake and things like that. But this definitive black silhouette is standing a good 40 yards away from me. And it was at that moment that I didn't know what I was looking at when I could tell there were the definitive shoulders. The other crazy part was it didn't sniff in the air, at least nothing I could tell. The head you could tell was kind of moving, kind of like this. But in my mind, even more today, looking at more of the photos and videos I've watched, if a bear's going to sniff it, they tend to lift their head up. And if they go far enough, you're going to see that snout. I couldn't see anything, never saw any facial features or anything like that. Again, it was just those huge shoulders that went down into these longer, what looked like arms that were by its side. It then dropped down to all fours, and I could see the back end of it start to scamper away. And it didn't lumber away like a bear does. It fluid was this type of motion the whole time. But it looked super fluid when it did that. As soon as it started to leave, and I knew it was leaving me, I kind of bolted at that point. I ran as fast as I could. I was never a fast runner to begin with, so I was probably running pretty slow. But I just got the hell out of the area. And since then, I've been kind of hooked on the subject. That was the definitive point for me. Growing up, I was always told Bigfoot stories by two of my grandfathers. I was definitely familiar with the PG film by my teen years, but it wasn't something that I invested any time in. I never went out in the woods and looked for these things. I never even really had it in the back of my mind that that's what it could be. The only time that I did was actually maybe a year later. I was just browsing the internet. And oddly enough, it was because there was an influx in bear sightings that year in the state of Michigan. And that literally just triggered something in me to be like, hey, remember that sighting you had? And this is all internal. But I'm thinking, what is it? And I legitimately stumbled upon the BFRO website and just started reading reports. And kind of got in my head of is that what I could have seen? And I know I mentioned to you backstage that as we were briefly talking over this, it had to have been, in my mind, a Bigfoot or a Sasquatch. I don't think it was a person. As much as I want to believe it, and I want to be a logical thinking mind and try to stay on that path of, was it really a Bigfoot? Were you lucky enough to see one? These things that I believe exist, but so many other people just don't and discount it. How can I be a lucky one in that? But that's what I saw, and that's what I still, 15 years later, lean towards believing in what I saw.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, short, but still, it's an incredible encounter.
Very
And
short.
believe it or not, in the time that you were telling that story, I got some questions.
Okay.
So, let me ask you. So, uh, when you had this sighting, was there any signs that you noticed that made you feel like something was off?
Not really, no. Not until I just caught the glimpse of it. Like I said, I thought everything was good. Everything was fine. I even thought it was a bear. And as soon as it stood up and I stopped and looked at it, and that's the point where I'm like, that's not a bear. I don't know what this is.
Yeah.
I don't know whether this is one of your questions, I guess, to paint kind of the picture, because again, I'm guessing 35, 40 yards. I've been back there several times. My grandparents still live in the same house. Um, I've never had any other visual encounters there. We've definitely have heard some strange things like deeper howls and stuff. But at 15, I already reached 6 foot. I'm 6'4" now. So I've already reached 6 foot. And I would have had to guess it was probably about the same size as I was from the distance. So either my height, maybe a little bigger, which even then kind of put me out of like, it could be a person, but if it is, it's an adult out here trying to scare somebody, because I never met another kid my size at that point. So,
Right. So let me ask you this. You sent me an audio file.
yes.
Where was that recorded?
That was recorded much farther south, actually 40 miles from where I'm sitting right now. That was in Washtenaw County, which is, again, probably 50 miles outside of Detroit, very southeastern Michigan.
Okay. And you guys, for our viewers and our listeners, because I don't know if you know it, I'm also heard on Spotify. So here is that that audio file. So very quick, classic 3 whacks on a tree. About how far now you, if I'm not mistaken, didn't you leave something out there?
Yeah, we left the audio recorder.
Yeah.
So the backstory in that was we were out investigating. This was in 2020. It was either the end of October, early November. And we were working on a project, a buddy and mine, of just going out and seeing what we could catch. We had a fairly eventful night. We did have some odd things happen, more so feelings instead of actually hearing much. We heard what could people could say, and I could have said, was almost what sounded like mouth pops. But again, it was colder at that time, so I don't know if that was like bark on a tree making the popping sounds, from air bubbles or whatever. But it could have been interpreted as mouth pops. Those specifically, though, were taken around 3:30 in the morning. We left the area roughly around midnight. I dissected 9 hours of audio, and outside of one coyote roll call, couple howls, those 3 noises are the only other audio we got in 9 flat hours.
Okay. Let's get back to these questions, and you've probably already answered like 2 or 3 of them, so
That's
no
all right.
problem. So when you witnessed this creature back when you were 15, did you notice like any odd smells in the air?
No odd smells. No.
And about how long, I don't know if you mentioned this, but about how long did that entire encounter from the first time that you saw it till the time how you described it, it didn't lumber away like a bear. It moved quickly and fluidly away. And you said it was on all fours when it moved away.
It dropped down to all fours, yeah. And that's the
Okay.
other reason why there's so much in me that thinks like, and has thought for so long, like you had to have seen a bear, but just that image that's burnt into my mind of when it stood up, I'm like, there's no way. There's no way. Unless it
Okay.
was the oddest looking bear ever.
Let's dissect that. Okay, let's seriously, let's break that down as much as we can, okay?
Okay.
So you're coming to this T stop, okay? And you notice this thing,
Hmm.
and you notice you think it's a bear, and then when it stands up, now you and I both know, and I think a lot of people know if they've ever seen a live bear, when they stand up, their paws are like this.
Yeah.
They're not down because they don't have the ability to put them down like that to the extent as like a human or a humanoid would do. So when this thing stands up, where were its arms?
Down to its side.
Down to its side. Now, did you say that it turned to look at you?
You could tell that the head was kind of like slow like this.
Yeah.
I don't believe it fully turned around. I
Yeah.
think I was close enough to where I could see, like, because you could tell it was covered in some kind of like a fur or whatever you want to call it.
Hmm.
Not close enough detail to where I could tell you how long it was, but I could tell there was no face I could see, but it was definitely covered in something from head to toe, not
Right.
clothing.
Right. And you said definitely the shoulders were
Super broad. I mean,
super broad. Yeah.
like not normal. Like I'm talking bodybuilder broad. Like even some of the freak athletes you see,
Yeah.
like those kind of dimensions on this thing.
Like Eddie Hall, the Beast.
Just huge. Yeah.
Man, oh man.
And for its
Okay.
size too, that's the weird thing because I'm like it can't be much taller than I was, and just I'm like it dwarfed me as far as width wise go,
Yeah.
you know.
Okay.
So
And then you said the way it dropped down, was it just like a fluid, just like it just folded down and then was gone?
yeah, because it almost looked like it just like a tree just falling straight down.
Yep. Okay.
So, and the odd thing is too, I've never thought about this until now when you're going through this, and I appreciate you doing it.
Mhm.
The arms were definitely down to its side, but like I don't remember seeing hands or anything. So I don't know if the arms were down but still in front of it. I don't know if that's just how long they were because there's definitely foliage on the ground. There's taller plants and light and stuff like that in those areas.
Mhm.
Um, the poor thing is, and I've been back as even as recently as last year, they clear cut that entire area now.
Mm.
So like all the forest is gone. The swamp's been dried up. All the trees are gone. The undergrowth is starting to come back at this point, but it's just all been cleared out.
You know, it's one thing I noticed, like because we normally drive, we go up through the UP, up through Escanaba, and then across the bridge and down that way. Because during like the school year, my son and his fiance were staying in Bay City, and then during the summer years they stayed down in Cadillac in Boone area. So but that's one thing I noticed, like our first trip went out there, it was like super awesome. The weirdest thing that I saw on our first trip out there, we saw a guy in a blue Dodge Ram quad cab 4-wheel drive truck that had gone off the road and smashed right into a tree, and he was just standing outside his truck like what am I gonna do, you know?
Yeah.
I found that odd. And then the next time that we came through going back out, um, pretty much just everything looked the same. But then, like the third time we went out, we noticed that they were starting to cut the forests back away from the edge of the road.
Hmm.
And so, and then like the fifth time we went out there, it was even more clear cut. So from like the highway that goes up through the UP, on either side of the road was now like a cleared area of woods, and I'm like, well, what's going on?
Yeah.
And my mind's thinking, well, elk, deer, bear, wolf, whatever, coming out immediately. They come out of the woods, are almost right automatically on the road.
Sure.
So clear cutting this is probably going to give travelers a better view of the side of the road. But I just found it really weird that they're clear cutting so much of that area up there.
Yeah.
So, but okay, here we go. So about how long did your total encounter from the time you saw it to the time you saw it disappear?
Definitely under a minute, if not under 30 seconds.
Okay. And so as you're standing there, what's going through your mind other than, is this a bear, or what was there any other thought process that you were trying to figure out?
Um, it's funny because at that point it was literally confusion. It was the first was a bit of panic because it stood up and I immediately thought, okay, bear. Um, but I'm looking at it more and it wasn't even like fear left my body at that point and I wasn't consumed by it. I was more so wondering what I'm looking at. I was so lost and like just what is this thing until it dropped down. Once it dropped down, it immediate like panic mode, like you wouldn't believe, which is why I remember just taking off. Like I was sprinting out of the area. So
So after you had this encounter, did you have any after effects?
no, not really. That night was a little odd because I just kept replaying it and just thinking it so much. But you know, we were up there for a couple days after that, and the next day, I was definitely watching that area of the forest, like anybody would. And I was like, okay, am I going to see this thing again? And you know, again, the realist in me is like, no. Even if you see a bear in one spot, you normally don't see it again the next day anyway.
Yeah.
I never saw anything after that, and the next couple times, it started to float away of you're not going to run into any problems, you're not going to have any issues. And then by the time we got back up there a couple months later, not forgotten about it, but that fight or flight was gone. I mean, I just treated the woods like the woods again.
Yeah. Now, when you had gone back after you had your sighting, you said you went back the next day in that area. Did you find any footprints or anything?
Yeah, not much that I could see. Like I said, it was definitely at that time it was very swampy. So I walked in a good foot or two, and then you would hit legitimate swamp. And to me, at that point, I still didn't know what it was. I wasn't thinking Bigfoot the next day. Um, I didn't look any further than that. I mean, I definitely like stood there and looked around, and I was looking at trees, but I never thought to even look for prints.
Excuse me. You just made me think of something. So you said you walked in maybe a foot or two, and then it's like legit swamp.
Yeah.
When it took off, did you hear it going through the water, or do you think that it maybe knew an alternate route to get around that without having to make enough noise to keep you alerted on its location?
Yeah, I remember seeing the underbrush, and it was above it, like the back. And this is the other part. The back was almost like flat. Like it didn't look like a bear where its big butt's up in the air. It was almost flat, like a human doing a push-up kind of when it lumbered off. But I don't remember hearing any water. Like I don't remember hearing anything. And I think just because I was so like, get me out of here and just took off to the house. Um, yeah. The sighting of that though is weird. It's one of those things that I still carry out with me now of like if I do see anything, especially bear, because since then I've seen quite a few bear, whether it's crossing the road. We spooked one coming up on a four-wheeler one time, had a cub run out, and then mama came out and we kind of backed up. But it's still even today, like you look and it's that classic, they're almost like this shape.
Yeah, they're kind
And
of
this
like
thing dropped down and it was like damn near parallel to the horizon behind it.
man. So after you had this, did you tell anybody right away?
Not right away. It's funny. I mentioned that I was introduced to your show by the most recent episode you had with Brian from Sasquatch Odyssey.
Oh, okay.
I told him he was my first official interview I've ever done. I remember he was starting his show a few years ago, and I threw it out there, and I was like, "Hey, if you want to hear something, let me know." And he was kind enough to bring me on. But outside of him, I told my grandfather that lives in that house probably a year later, I think it was the next summer that we went up there. I told him about it. And that's when I kind of found out that he never had a visual sighting, but he's like, oh, they're out there. Like he's 100% a believer. And this is something that he shared like local stories, and we grew up hearing campfire tales. And it's funny because a lot of them were Sasquatch related, or like the big hairy man in the woods, he would call it. But it never got a serious point until I go, hey, let me tell you what I saw. And he's like, yeah, they're out there. And you probably saw one.
Yeah, my great grandmother, God rest her soul, she was an amazing woman, called her Nanny. And when I lived in West Virginia with my aunt, my uncle, my mom, my brother, my cousins, my whole mom's side of the family, she would always say, if you boys go up in them woods, y'all better be careful because you hear them boogers whistling and hollering. Y'all better come back to the house because them boogers will get you.
Yeah.
And again, I had no idea I thought she was talking like about hillbillies or people running shine or something like that. I had no idea what a booger was. And I still didn't know what a booger was until like 6 years ago,
Yeah.
So, let's see here. What else we got? Before that happened, what was your belief in Bigfoot? Now, you said you'd heard the stories, the campfire stories, but what was your belief in it?
I never gave it much thought, to be honest. I loved hearing the stories. I grew up, like I said, hearing those stories, hearing ghost stories. My family as a child, whether it was good or not, I grew up watching ghost hunters with taps and all that. Used to scare the hell out of me as a kid. But I grew up with all that. So I was like, it's fun. It's fun to hear. It's fun to share. It's fun to tell. But I never gave true credence of like, yeah, something's actually out there. Like I saw the PG film I remember as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
I remember checking out a book one time back in elementary school. It was like Bigfoot, the Truth, something like a generic title,
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't even tell you what it was about. I remember that was the cover. It was Patty.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, it was just a story. And even if they were true, I never thought Michigan. I 100% was like, okay, California, Canada, like I got nothing to worry about,
Yeah.
So,
and just for people who's listening and viewing, if you're not understanding what he means when he says the PG film, it's the Patterson Gimlin film. It's, to me, it's one of the most incredible pieces of film that's captured this creature. And I get so tired of hearing people, well, it was faked because so and so came out and said this and this and this. And then if you look, you mean to tell me that two yokels paid another yokel to dress up in an incredible suit, and then probably 4, 5, maybe 6 years later, that a movie studio or a film studio that's doing the $6 million Man, all they could come up with Andre the Giant in a goofy looking big. I mean, come on now, people. Like let's think about that.
with no mask and hair glued to his arms. Yeah. I'm there with you.
So have you had any other strange encounters after that one? Now, we already went over the knocks that you had and some of the strange feelings and things, but did you have anything significant as an encounter wise after that?
There was one point in time, and this is when me and my best friend, I basically coerced him to go out with me and look for these things. He still is 100% skeptical. He likes to hear me talk about it, and then he likes to banter with me about how I'm full of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But he's kind enough to go out, so we enjoy going out from time to time. And in 2020, during the age of COVID, luckily none of us got sick, but we were like, you know what? Nobody's going out in the woods. We need to go out there. We need to go up north. Like I got the cabin, and we're good. We need to go and we need to look. And there was one night we went out there for a couple days. One night particular, I think it was the third night we were up there. The first two never had anything happen. We started hearing like whistling, and it sounded like bird song. And that's what I thought it was. But I'm like, we're out here at 2 a.m, and I'm hearing one noise. And I'm like, I don't know of owls whistling unless they do, and I'm just not familiar with it. That got put to shame real quick because we started talking about that. And he's like, well, maybe it is. And a couple minutes down the road, you legitimately hear the hoots of an owl go off. And then it's back to this bird song. So I asked him to, because I like to give him just crap. I'm like, you're the skeptic. Why don't you whistle? So he did. And we wait maybe 2 minutes and we get a response that almost mimicked exactly like the high-pitched whistle he did, down to like the minute that, like the second that it would have ended. It sounded the exact same, almost as it was an echo coming back. And of course his eyes got huge, and I started laughing because I'm like, well, explain that, skeptic, because we're best friends. So we banter with each other out here in the woods and we're acting stupid. And I'm like, explain that. He goes, I don't know. He's like, you do it. So I did it. And again, same tone, like came right back. And it was the weirdest thing. And me and him are puzzled. So he's like, well, why don't you howl? Don't they howl? And I go, I'm not going to howl. I said, however, I will clap. And I did 2 just claps. And we're waiting and we're waiting and we're waiting. And we're like, all right, nothing's happening. And we continue on down the road. And we made it probably 15, 20 yards. And you heard a clap echo out like across the forest. And I'm talking deep. Like it didn't sound like the audio I sent you. It did not sound like a tree on tree. It sounded like a full-on clap that just echoed. We froze in the middle of this dirt 2x2 track that we're walking. Both clicked the headlights on immediately because they were off at this point. Turned them on. We were freaked out and we started slowly just walking out of there. And nothing happened back to the truck. We were probably maybe a half a mile from the truck at this point, and we were quick pace walking while we're shooting behind us, glancing over each other's shoulders, and nothing else happened. But outside of my sighting, that's the night that I thought like something intelligent is in the forest. I can't see it, but it's definitely here because it's communicating with me.
Yeah, that's awesome. Let's see here. So do you think that Sasquatch is actively trying to avoid humans?
I'd have to say yes.
And why?
For 99% of the time. I mean, I do believe that they're out there. I believe it's a species that exists. And I really think if they do, just like us, they've been around so long and they've been just so hunted by us that they have to share the similar fight or flight. Like when we encounter something, if we're not prepared, we're out of there 100% of the time. It doesn't matter what it is. Even if you are prepared sometimes, you're still getting out of there. And I think it's the same with them. I also think they know where to go because they live there. Like I live in a house. And I love the example I heard. Somebody was on a show once, but they gave the example of like if a burglar comes in your house, turn your lights off because you know your house. They don't know your house you're walking into. It's the same with them. I go out in the forest, even a forest I feel like I know like the back of my hand. I'm not there 24/7, but they are. They know it so well that it's so easy for them to hide.
Nice. Okay, here's kind of a silly question. If you had a chance to ask one of these things a question, what would it be?
That's a good question. I've never been asked that before, so I've never thought about that.
I'm trying to become a better interviewer.
You're doing a good job. I'll be honest. The first thing I thought of was, can I take a selfie with you? But nobody would believe me anyway in the age of AI. Man, that's a phenomenal question. Probably, I guess I want to know what they are. And I know that's like a very open-ended question, but I mean, are you more like us? Are you more ape? Are you something totally different that we know nothing about? Like, what are you, you know?
That's cool. I can just kind of hear the reply. What are you? You know?
Yeah, pretty much.
What do you mean, what am I? What are you?
Like, well, I think I'm human, but you tell me. Maybe you know more than I do. I don't know.
Exactly.
So
And here's my final question, and then we'll jump over to your project because I'm excited to hear about that as well.
yeah.
If you had the chance, would you want to have another encounter? And if so, why? And if no, why not?
I would say yes pretty quickly. And really, it's just to set in stone what happened 15 years ago. No matter what it is, I'll be honest with you, I'd like to see one while I'm driving in a car. So one, I have a little bit of safety. But yeah, it's just it's that personal confirmation for me because I can share this story a million times and everybody's going to have an opinion about it. They're going to believe it or they're not going to believe it. And regardless of whatever happens, I need to know in my own mind. I definitely lean one way the older I get, like I said. But there's the background of what I do every day. I worked with law enforcement for several years. I'm, fellow first responder career-wise. I still work for the government, more on a local, low-scale end, but I'm still a governmental employee. So it's hard to talk about this kind of stuff at work. I tend to stay away from that. But I have those two sides of my brain, right? I have the side that's super creative, that which we'll touch on in a minute, loves filmmaking and all this kind of stuff. But then I have the other side who's the realist of like, there's a lot of things in this world that are black and white, and this could be a gray area that maybe I need to explore more.
Exactly. Well, that's all the questions I have. So, you guys, like I said before, he's working on a project. And Jake, tell us what you're working on.
So this is going to be, if I can make it happen, on basically no budget. This is going to be a creature feature, definitely more that leans into the psychological aspect of things. The way that I'm writing it right now, and I would like to say that process is pretty close to complete, which is funny because every time I read it, I'm changing something in it. But we'll get there one day to actually start filming this thing. But I'm going in with the hopes of leaning heavy on Bigfoot, leaning into the Dogman, blending two cryptids that a lot of people either fully believe in and back, think you're full of stuff, don't believe you at all, and kind of blending those two worlds. It's something that has come out of kind of my own personal thoughts on the subject. It's a lot of things that I've heard, is definitely some of the inspiration behind this. A lot of people that I've talked to is definitely the inspiration on the Bigfoot side. And really that brings me to why I even reached out to you in the first place. And the last couple of days I've had the chance to listen to some of the other shows that you've done. Was I wanted to hear if you had any encounters with Dogman, because the stories that I've read, although some of them are super, super terrifying, some of the ones that I found are a little more like, yeah, that could be misidentification. Like I could see how it could go this way. And even those, again, have provided some of the inspiration behind this film that I'm working on. So I know that probably doesn't give a whole lot away, but if you have any questions
No,
for it, please.
I definitely don't want you to give the whole premise away, because I don't want someone snatching your stuff. You know what I'm saying? So,
Thank you.
I just wrote down like 3 questions.
Sure.
Why Dogman?
So yeah, Dogman is when I was looking for this idea, this topic came up between me and my friend, and I wanted something. I'll touch quickly what we did in the past. As I said, we've gone out, we've done investigations. He's way more into the paranormal, and there was a small stint in time where we did go out on some ghost hunts and ghost adventure type things. It's not really my style. I still go out with him, and I'm still open for that. Like I've told him before, like, hey, if you got a place, let me know. We'll arrange a time. We'll go film it. But I guess have either matured or just got down to this, that I want to do something a lot more scripted, definitely more laid out. Because everything I've done before this is just pick up a camera, point, shoot, and try to put it together in post. I want something that's a full-on story, start to finish. I know where it's going. I got scenes in my head, the whole nine. How I got onto Dogman was my history with Bigfoot, having the sighting, talking to all the people. Immediately, I was like, oh, I want to do a creature feature. Let's highlight Bigfoot. How many times has that been done? I mean, that I can speak for everyone. It's been beaten to death.
Look on Tubi.
Exactly. Everybody with a camera has a Bigfoot video somewhere down the line. Every YouTuber's got one. There's podcasts that aren't even like comedy podcasts sometimes highlight Bigfoot stories.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody does it. And that's not a bad thing, because I like to watch them. I mean, I'm invested in it. I enjoy it. But me trying to think outside the box and trying to grasp attention, I thought, yeah, we'll put some Bigfoot in there, but not many people have done Dogman. How many people even know about Dogman outside of the Beast of Bray Road, outside of the Michigan Dogman? I mean, I've read encounter stories in Kentucky, Arkansas, Kansas. I've seen a couple from California, but even the people I've listened to, and it's not that many because they still are hard to find, a lot of those stories are still like Midwest based. I haven't seen too many horror flicks or even psychological flicks coming out about Dogman. So that really leaned into me choosing that topic.
Yeah. That's a good answer. Why did you pick the location that you did?
So the reason I did is one of the things of inspiration, and I truly, I don't want to go into it on camera. I have no problem talking to you off screen about it.
Yeah, no problem.
Just in saving that idea and saving stuff for the film.
Mhm.
One of the inspirations, though, is something that came out of my state, specifically in the location that's going to be highlighted in the film.
Okay.
Very long history, very well documented, and a piece of pop culture. I will say that. And of course, once this comes out, we get closer, more information will come out about that. But I'll leave it where it is for now.
I think I got an idea. You're gonna do something with Gene Simmons when Kiss went to Cadillac, and
We could.
you know,
I could reach out to him.
and you could reach out to Gene Simmons.
Yeah, we'll see. I won't get an answer, but I can reach out to him.
So here's my last question. Have you ever worked on a book?
No, I have
No.
not.
Okay. Well, I mean, I've stay in the lobby because I got some stuff to tell you. Probably some stuff. Well, you know what? I'll show you some stuff here on. Oh, let's see. What did I get? So I have a TikTok channel as well, and a good friend of mine. He goes by Steamboat. He sent me a 35-second clip, and I put it on TikTok, and it's got over 184,000 views.
Good for you.
And I don't know how to monetize on that, so but everything else I put on there, I might have a couple that have 1,000. I have, mostly maybe a couple hundred, but this is that video. So let me know what you think about this.
I'm so glad you brought that up, because that, being introduced to your channel, I saw that video the last time you shared it, and I'm glad to watch it here, because when I watched it on my phone just during the live stream, I thought that was like a shadow at first of somebody, but on this bigger screen, seeing it now, it's more definitive to me that it's a subject. It's not like a shadow being reflected.
Yep.
And it's huge. Like, that thing looks massive.
The fence, you can tell the fence is a 4-foot fence, but then there's another 4-foot extension on top of it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's an 8-foot fence that goes around this backyard. And at first I thought that the camera was on the outside of the house, but obviously it's there's a camera pointing out there from the inside, because you hear the dog whining. Yeah. The dog knows something's going on outside because it's whining. And as you see now, here's the premise. I don't know if you remember what I said, but when it walked over to the right and it bent down, it was peeling back a live trap.
Okay.
Like a sardine can, and took out the raccoon, and then decided to have takeout. So, but yeah, I mean, I get stuff sent like that all the time, and like I've got, let's see, where's this one here? Ron Moorhead sent me a piece of audio, and it is, I love hearing it. It kind of freaks me out, but let's see, where is it here? Here we go.
Wow, all the seer sounds freak me out.
I'm telling you, just having Ron on there, just with him providing that documentation or any audio or anything like that, it's just, it blows my mind because here he is way out in the middle of nowhere with friends of his,
Mhm.
and they get that.
Yeah.
It just, I'm kind of envious in a way, because I would love to go out and do things like that. But, my last encounter was 92, I was 20. So like 33 years ago was my last encounter.
Okay.
And I haven't been off the beaten path since. And I don't go deep in the woods anymore,
Right.
just because of that encounter. But you have any questions for me?
I'm sure you've shared it, but if you don't mind just touching, I'd love to hear your encounter.
Well, I've
So,
had one sighting,
okay.
and I've had, outside of that sighting, I've had 4 other encounters.
4. Okay.
2 prior to it, and then 2 after it.
Okay.
So, well, the 4th one that I had, if you really want to consider sighting, it's a sighting, but I can't definitively say that's what it was.
Okay.
So, but I'll tell you in the lobby.
Okay.
I'll tell you about that. So if you want to just hang out in the lobby, we're going to go ahead and I'll end the show. And we'll chat a little bit more about your project and things like that. And I'm super excited to see where you go with it. So
Yeah, I really appreciate that. If you don't mind, can I just let people know where they can catch up with this in the near future?
absolutely. I'll send you links to my show and send me your address and I'll send you a couple things. So
Yeah, absolutely.
cool.
That's great. Yeah, I appreciate it.
All right. Stand by 1 second. You guys, that's our show for tonight. I'm going to tell you right now, Jake is a great guest. Absolutely incredible encounter. Even though it wasn't that long of an encounter, it just, the way he described it, what he saw, these are definitely the type of encounters I love hearing about. I like hearing about everything, but when I get a lot of detail like that, I really try to, and I try not to talk a lot about it during the interview, because I've had people say, man, stop asking all these questions. Let's hear it. But, Jake really, really came out and really gave us, I kind of felt like I was walking behind him when he had that sighting. So, Jake, again, thank you so much for coming on. You guys, thank you for joining me tonight. I really appreciate it. If you guys have had an encounter and you'd like to come on the show, please send me an email at the Cryptid Podcast 72@gmail.com. The Cryptid Podcast 72@gmail.com. And as my buddy Josh always like to say, for mysteries unknown, stay prayed up, guys. And as I always like to say, remember, a sighting begins. I messed it all up. I messed up my line, guys. Remember, everybody, a legend begins with a sighting. You guys have a great night and have a great day.
I got a strange going on out here. Something just killed my dog.
Something killed your dog?